All right, everybody. I am genuinely surprised about what we're going to be talking about today. I never saw this coming. Like, I didn't see any advertisement for it. I didn't hear any hype for it. I didn't even see it when it was happening. I had it sent to me what is now, at the moment of recording, 23 hours after the fact. But Bernie Sanders, on his YouTube channel, appeared on a also live-streamed appearance with several very, very large Twitch streamers. And when I say large Twitch streamers, I mean some of the biggest Twitch streamers, and in particular, one very large and beloved content creator that I think everyone here can agree is just dope. Pokimane, Valkyrae, and the creator in question that I was just talking about, Hank Green. And I imagine others all interviewed Bernie Sanders on stream earlier yesterday morning. I have not seen this yet. All I have seen is the opening, and the opening is very funny when you consider who is about to come onto the stream and talk with them. But here we've got I think it's Valkyrae on the right, if I'm not mistaken. It could be Pokimane. I actually... I don't know, like, if this is sexist or something, but I have a hard time telling Valkyrae and Pokimane apart. I don't watch them enough. I think that's Pokimane. Okay, I thought that was Valkyrae. Anyway, with that said, this is them talking before Bernie Sanders joins, but he is about to join, and I actually don't know what they talk about. I assume it's going to be mostly mobilizing young stream viewers to get out and register to vote and to vote themselves, so... let's watch. I think that's Valkyrae. Yeah, I can't tell them apart either. Okay, I'm glad to see it's not sexism. All right, good. Anyway, let's watch.
Okay, so I think I did it right. Hold on, Ray. I'm going to try to put you on the screen. Did I do it right?
Test.
Yeah, that's Valkyrae.
Okay, I'm going to test it out as well.
Oh my god, I think I have Ray up on the screen. Oh my god.
What?
And it's like...
Yo, it's mirrored. Is it mirrored for you guys? Or
It is mirrored for me too.
I'll fix it.
Wait, I don't know how to undo that, so I'm just going to keep it as is.
Show non-participants. We're supposed to remove that.
Yeah.
Okay. Non-participants cannot be seen. I hate that it's mirrored. Ugh.
Yeah, that is annoying as hell. So this is actually something that I do with my camera. You can use your camera to direct line into a program where you can manipulate the camera, and then what it does is it creates a virtual camera that you manipulate, I should say, and then that virtual camera can be cloned, which means you've got multiple camera lines. So you could use one for OBS, you could use one to simultaneously show your camera on Discord, you could simultaneously use one to show your camera on, like, another program, because it turns your main camera into a feed of multiple virtual cameras you can use as if they were real cameras. And, you can just manipulate them individually. So if, say, Discord flips your camera, you can just flip it in the virtual cam, and then once it goes into Discord, when it flips the camera, it's going to flip it back to the proper orientation. So it's actually going to be not flipped. That's a trick that I've used before, if anyone is curious. If anyone makes content or wants to know how to deal with that, that's how you deal with it.
That's not a feather. Oh.
Okay. Ray, so I need to understand why your lighting is so iconic. Tell me.
Well,
she just always
when you
looks back
stream more than just once every 2 months, Austin,
No, come
you
on.
kind of make it a priority to, fix the background.
Would it be crazy to announce what we're doing together on Saturday? Is that selfish?
No. I've already talked about it like months ago when we were supposed to do it.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Ray and I are doing it in the tub on Saturday. Okay.
Yes, it's true.
Yeah.
It's happening finally. I'm getting naked with Austin.
That's right. Butt naked, both of us. It's the first one.
Butt
Actually.
naked. The first one,
Yep,
fully
it's the
nude.
fully nude. Yep, that's right.
This is the degenerate shit that Twitch streamers are talking about and doing before Bernie Sanders comes onto their stream for them to interview. Absolutely wild shit. Listen, I'm telling you, I hope the Dems have it in them to engage with popular, like, mainstream figures going forward, because, man, the Republicans don't really have any tact, I guess. Like, they don't really care about being rude or raunchy or swearing. But the Dems do try to keep it family friendly. And because of that, I wonder if at any point the possibility for content creators and Democrats to collab, like Democrat politicians to collab, could be reduced because, like, streamers can't not talk about doing a naked hot tub stream 5 minutes before bringing on a politician. You know what I mean? I hope it never ends up being a problem in the first place, but I don't know, man. Yeah, Republicans have cat turd.
In the
Fully
tub.
nude, in the
Yeah,
tub.
I fixed it. Is it working?
It looks great.
Me
You look
too.
great.
Oh my god, guys.
We got a
So there you go.
VTuber here.
So if you guys didn't know, I've been using my VTuber because I have a skin condition that's been acting up. So
I cannot believe. I think we're about to see Bernie Sanders get interviewed by a Catboy VTuber. I'm not joking. I think we're going to see Bernie Sanders get interviewed by a Catboy VTuber. I really hope this dude sticks around for when Bernie shows up. That goes crazy. This also, because they're using Discord, this implies there is a Bernie Sanders Discord account. Dude.
No. What is going on, Ray?
Yo, Ray, what's up with
you
that?
know, I'm really trying to figure out how to show
Wait, Ray,
OBS
why do you look
cams.
so good? Oh, never mind.
What?
That's crazy.
I was
Listen,
complimenting Austin.
Yeah, I know. I
see.
know you were. It's just how do
Oh my God,
Oh.
Ray, what am I?
I see
Half of
the
me.
issue.
What's the
I
issue?
see- I don't understand why this is happening.
It's okay,
Okay.
Ray.
Well, why is this happening? So in OBS, I'm trying to display capture
Mm-hmm.
the Discord cams.
Mm-hmm.
But
Oh,
when I
so
display
what you
capture,
need-
it's showing
Hey,
my
guys, are
cam
you
because
guys-
I'm in the display. Yes.
Are you guys showing the Discord already? Like,
Well, I'm trying to fix it.
it looks good. I
Ray-
can see it.
Ray,
No,
I
no.
see
You're
you
just
perfectly.
doing tech
Yeah, you look fine.
support here.
You look great.
Oh no.
How long until Bernie Sanders gets involved? Oh, John Oliver is recommended to autoplay next. Election Subversion 2024, last week tonight. Cool. Maybe I'll watch that later. Okay, actual Pokimane does join here, it seems. So they get Pokimane, which is actually, believe it or not, the real canonical name. The real way you're supposed to pronounce Pokimane's the way you're supposed to pronounce her username is actually Pokemon. I always thought that Destiny was pronouncing it wrong as a meme, but no, as it turns out, the actual pronunciation is supposed to be Pokemon, like Pokemon, but it's probably best people think it's Pokimane for obvious Nintendo will sue the absolute shit out of you reasons. So, yeah. Yeah. What? Yeah, no, because her real name is Emon, and it's pronounced Emon. So, yeah, it's Pokemon. Or Pokemon, I guess would be how it's pronounced. I don't know, dude. All I know is that Destiny knows her better than I do, and that's what Destiny said. So, he is wrong on many things, but not that. Actually, not that many things, but sometimes he's very, when he's wrong, you know what I mean? But yeah, I trust him on that one. I think he knows what he's talking about.
God. Okay, I can figure this out. Hold on. Let me
Okay.
see. Let me see.
Wait, guys, am I mirrored?
Did I
can't
leak
tell.
something?
Did I
Nah,
not?
we good.
Ray never leaks.
DMs?
He doesn't.
Yeah, but were they just blank? Yeah, they're back.
Okay.
Bernie
leak
is
something?
coming.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Okay. Oh my God. Why do the cameras keep disappearing?
Hold on, I think I borked something.
Oh my God.
I
Why do they keep
100% borked
disappearing?
Something. Hold on.
Oh, it just
Dude,
has to,
I'm so glad to know I'm not the only streamer who does not know how to use fucking Discord. I've thought for years now, am I just getting old and incapable of using tech? I think it's not that. I think that, like, the tech industry, maybe like 5 or 6 years ago, experienced an influx of, like, fresh blood, like fresh meat that's like that just don't know what they're doing as well as previous generations of software designers. And that's why there's so much asshole design in tech these days. Why buttons are in such awful places. Why you have to, like, why they maximize the amount of clicks to do simple tasks, often repetitive ones. Like, that shit, there has to have been some brain drain in that industry recently or something, because good God, Discord went from, like, sometimes frustrating but usable to it's getting, like, more and more upsetting to use every update. I don't know what is going on with it. I'm so glad I'm not the only streamer, though. I thought I was just getting old.
Yeah, active. I got
lagged
it.
something out.
I
Give me
got
one
it.
sec.
You know what's crazy, chat? It's like,
Yeah, gun invalid. I'm gonna skip to when Bernie gets in here because I figured he was gonna get in like momentarily, but it seems like geez, okay, yeah, he hops into the 10-minute mark. It seems. So let's move it up. Why is Pokimane now wearing like a jacket and a mask? What happened? I don't know the background to what we skipped through some things, but I guess we'll just have to go in for the meme. Oh yeah, Bernie with the mask and the mittens and the puffy coat saying I am once again asking for your support. Hello, I am once again asking for your support. My name is Bernie Sanders. I marched with Martin Luther King. What the fuck, Fire Bernie impression? I've been practicing. I practice all my impressions.
our conversation with Bernie Sanders. Just give me a second. I believe, let's see here. Once he gets his camera on, showing that he's muted right now. Hey, Senator Sanders, how are you?
All right. Good.
How are you?
Hello, my name is Bernie Sanders. I have come to join you Twitch streamers and to talk to the young people about registering to vote and to encourage you to vote for the best candidate that you can do your own research and figure out who the best candidate is. Skibbity Toilet, Riz, Kai Sadat, Stay Woke, goodbye. Imagine that was the entire bit and he just leaves. That would go fucking crazy.
Hey, Senators. Good. It's a pleasure. It's a pleasure to have you on here live on Twitch. I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Austin Show. I'm a Twitch streamer. You guys want to introduce yourself? Pokey, Saikuno?
Mr.
he
Sanders, my
signing
name's
bills?
Pokey. So nice to meet you. I'm a big fan, as you can tell.
Thank you very much.
This is sped up, by the way. If you want me to speed it down a little bit, I can, but this is a little sped up, so they're gonna sound like they're race cars, okay?
And
Hello,
go
Mr.
ahead,
Sanders.
Saikuno.
I'm Saikuno. Normally, I have a regular camera, but I have
This
a
is
skin condition,
crazy.
so I'm using this avatar. Do you know what a VTuber is?
Okay.
Have you heard of a VTuber before?
Nope.
No.
No?
That's
I'm
all
the
right.
first one.
I love how straight that fucking answer was. Nope. Not even no, what is it? Just nope. Oh god, this is gonna go crazy, dude. I'm already cringing, man. I'm already cringing. We got fucking, like, Pokimane fangirling. We've got Austin Show being Austin Show. Saikuno being a fucking VTuber. A camera that's not loading. And fucking Bernie here who's just, oh, man. Let's go, dude. This is gonna go crazy.
Yeah, it's the first
Ooh,
one.
Thank you
Senator
so much
Sanders.
for supporting VTubers.
It's when they have this animated profile or icon.
That's me.
Well, there you are. Okay.
Yeah, no, it's believe me,
You're
I
looking good.
understand. Yeah, it's looking good. Yeah, Senator Sanders,
Thank you.
it's a pleasure to have you on here again. Thank you so much for.
Man, I so badly hope I get to meet Bernie one day, man. I hope I get to meet Bernie one day and just be like, listen, dude, you know that time you talked to those streamers and the one guy was like a cat boy moving cartoon character? I just want you to know we're not all like that. Those are just the most popular of us. I'm so sorry, Bernie. I love you, buddy. Can I, like, buy a lunch? Jesus Christ.
Taking your time to talk about very important issues. And I'd like to give you the floor. I understand you'd like to say some things to get us started.
Well, first of all, thanks very much for organizing this live stream. Bottom line is, this is the most consequential election in our lifetimes.
And the American people are tired of women. I love that fucking video. I love that video. I'm sorry, hold on. Because we're Bernie pilled right now.
The American people are tired of women.
So true. So true. The American people are tired of women. It's such a good fucking clip.
In the history of the United States. In my view, simply stated, Donald Trump is not fit to be president of the United States. This is a guy who lied.
Okay, that was pretty fucking funny. Pokimane was going to take off the jacket, probably because it's like 80 degrees in like LA or Hell A where she lives, and was like zipping it down, realized how it looked on the camera, and then went and stopped. Okay, I've never actually laughed at anything Pokimane has said or done until then, and that was actually pretty fucking good. That was a pretty good visual comedy.
He's vulgar. You may have heard just the other day, he decided that one of the most important issues facing this country is the size of the late
She's
Arnold
like
Palmer's
waiting for
penis.
She's like, shit. I shouldn't have put this thing on. Now I'm starting to sweat, and I don't know how to take it off without it looking a certain way. You know what I mean? Pokimane's been like trained with negative reinforcement by the internet that if she like gets up and forgets to not like back away from the camera, people are going to like post about her being a whore or whatever. That's like unironically one of the few downsides, the lack of privilege that attractive people online get, where like to a degree you can just try to exist and people will still try to frame it as you trying to, yeah. So I get that.
The other day, he decided that one of the most important issues facing this country is the size of the late Arnold Palmer's penis.
Who here does not know what Bernie is talking about there? Who here doesn't know? Recently, Donald Trump went on stage and he started praising a guy named Arnold Palmer. And for like a whole 10 seconds, Trump goes on about how well endowed this guy is, apparently. He's like, man, hold on, I gotta get into Trump mode.
I'm telling you, people would go into the locker room and they see him and they come out and they say, oh my God, that's incredible.
I think that's what he said.
That would seem to me to disqualify him right away, but it goes a lot deeper than that. You have a guy, as I hope everybody understands, really does not believe in democracy. What democracy is about is you can disagree with me. You can vote against me.
Yeah, she's
Never
doing it.
And if I lose, I congratulate you. If you lose, you congratulate me.
Let's go.
We have a peaceful transition of power. That's called American democracy. For the first time in the history of the United States, our long and extraordinary history, we had a guy who said, I'm not going to leave power. I lost the election, but I'm not going to leave. He fomented an insurrection to try to overturn the results of the 2020 election. So I think for no other reason, the fact that this guy's a pathological liar and that he does not believe in democracy is reason enough to make sure that he does not win this election. But there are many other reasons. I know that many young people are terribly concerned about climate change, as they.
So I want to point something out here. Also, great pause face. Bernie looks fucking freaked out. So something I think is important to point out here is, what do you think the average like age of like Pokimane and Saikuno and Austin's viewers are? Now, don't get me wrong. Plenty of them are adults. A lot of them are like working adults, but they're young working adults. They're like 19, 20, 21, 22, you know? And many of them are younger. Now, the reason why these streamers were so excited to talk to Bernie, and the reason their viewers are so excited for them to talk to Bernie, is because, well, it's obvious. They're young people who find Bernie's politics to be the most agreeable among the Democrats. When I talk about the Democratic Party getting more progressive over time and the Overton window moving left, this is what I'm talking about. Right now, Bernie Sanders and the squad are a minority of the Democratic Party. But that minority is going to grow until eventually the standard, the line that you must toe to be a Democrat, is going to be Bernie or AOC or the squad's politics. I've been telling you guys this for a while, especially as these younger Bernie-loving progressive people age into voting and they become the electorate. They become the people who cast the votes and decide what the Overton window is. The Democratic Party is going to have no choice but to move further left, as they have for decades and decades and decades. It's not a stagnant or like stable thing, you know? Even the Republican Party has gotten way more radically right-wing in recent years.
They should be. We see with our own eyes what's happened recently in Florida, in North Carolina, the terrible forest fires that we had in California, in Canada, the heat waves in Europe, massive flooding in China. On and on it goes. Every scientist
And Florida
who has studied the issue understands that climate change is real. Austin, do you know what Donald Trump's view is on climate change?
Well, Senator Sanders, I've heard him talk about it, and he mentioned, I think at one point, he said it would create more oceanfront property in Florida.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, that's that sums up his view. Yeah,
his view
it's
is
fake.
that it was a hoax.
Yeah,
and
it's
I
fake.
want everybody, a hoax created in China. All right, not only is that incredibly stupid, not only is that in defiance of what the entire scientific...
I like Austin's show a lot. A, his politics are not dog shit, and B, he's got like a really good voice for projection. I don't know. It's something I really respect is when people have got a voice that's like, I do not have this by any means. I have like the polar opposite of this. So when you're wondering like, what is he talking about? Basically imagine a voice that is the opposite of mine. Like a very bassy, projecty kind of voice. And so when he makes a point, you're just like, yeah, just because of the way he says it. You know what I mean? I like that about Austin's show.
Community believes. It's worse than that. Because let's be clear. If he is elected, the struggle against climate change is over and we lose. Because if the United States withdraws from trying to transform our energy system, China will do the same. Europe will do the same. Every other major country on earth will say, the largest economy in the world, America, has given up. We give up too. And I tell you, I have 4 kids, 7 grandchildren. I worry very, very deeply what kind of planet you and your kids will be inheriting if Trump gets elected and we give up the struggle to transform our energy system and lose the fight against climate change. And then there's another issue. I mean, all of you know that since the inception of the United States of America back in the 1780s, women have been struggling for first-class citizenship. It wasn't until 1920, that women had the right to vote in national elections. Women 40, 50 years ago could not do the job. They wanted to go be a construction worker, unheard of. You wanted to be a police officer, unheard of. You wanted to be an engineer, that's not what women did. But women and their male allies struggled and fought to break down barrier after barrier, and we have had some real success. I can remember, a few decades ago.
There's something about Bernie. You know what I think is so attractive about Bernie's messaging, especially to young progressive people? Bernie exudes the aura of a guy who's been talking about these issues for 60 years. I want you to imagine that I have been doing what I've been doing for 60 years. Imagine me in 60 years, and I'm still doing this shit. Bernie exudes the aura of a guy who is in that position and has said these things a million times over, understands these problems and their needed solutions a million times over, and is not in the slightest bit nervous or unenthusiastic to talk about it. He's at the point where he's repeated these things so many times, he is just happy there are people willing to listen and act on the wisdom that he has gathered over the decades, you know?
Not so long ago, there are 100 people in the U.S. Senate. 98 of them were men, 2 were women. But we have struggled to open up the political process, the economic process. Women have made huge gains. And the most significant gain that women have made, and I hope the men understand this, the most significant victory they have won is to be able to control their own bodies. And then...
No, Pastor Dean, I hate to inform you, but math and science is not, in fact, God. Math and science was actually invented by like an Arabic guy in like a hut somewhere, like thousands of years before Christ was born or something. So, no, math and science is not Jesus, I'm afraid. Good theory, though, Pastor Dean. I encourage the active mind.
Then you have Donald Trump proudly telling the world that he appointed 3 right-wing Supreme Court justices who helped overturn Roe v. Wade and take away a woman's constitutional right to control her own body. So, to me, this is a no-brainer campaign. And Trump has got to be defeated, and Kamala has got to be elected.
Look at
what
that
the
dog.
political scientists tell us.
Guys, look at that dog.
I love that dog. Look at that adorable little white dog there in the background. I love it. It looks like a large, like, Pomeranian. Hard to tell, though, because the camera's so blurry, but I see that doggo. Looks like a little cloud.
Is that the younger generation is the most progressive generation probably in the history of younger generation in the history of this country.
He's completely right. For as much panic button hitting as there has been about young men and their political paths, overall, Gen Z coming into voting age now is like so much more radically progressive than even the generation that came directly before it. It's actually quite staggering, in fact. And it's across the board, too. Gen Z people who are conservative, of which make up a much smaller minority of Gen Z, are themselves way more radically conservative than their parents even are, if they are themselves conservative. It is not uncommon to have like a tradcon, like soft conservative dad or mom, and for the kid to be like a full-on white nationalist, right? Like that is, and for the parents to be like, you take it a little too far, son. You know what I mean? Like that is not an unrealistic scenario for those few, usually young men in Gen Z who are right-wing. They don't tend to lean on traditional conservatism. They tend to lean more on very far right, like towards white nationalism, which is, let's be real, for a lot of them, probably an edgy internet phase that they'll grow out of. So I wouldn't even count that small minority of Gen Z that's like radically far right as like a set part of that generation that's going to go into voting age. That's probably itself going to wear off, especially as years go by.
Has led the fight against racism, against sexism, against homophobia, led the fight to transform our energy system, take on climate change. That's what this younger generation has done. But there's something else about this younger generation. They vote in significantly lower numbers than older people do. So all I would say is if you are concerned about democracy.
The voter turnout is one of the things that I've been complaining about since I started talking about politics on YouTube, really. For the God's sakes, get out there and vote. You need to register. You need to vote blue down ballot. You need to make sure you vote for progressive. Check and see what policies are going to be on the ballot, because sometimes policies are up for vote, sometimes they're up for referendum on the ballot, and they're based to your local area. So you're not just going to be able to know passively which things you should vote yes or no on, or not care about, I guess, if you really are not interested. You have to actually do research, and it has to be specific to your local area. So make sure you do that. You need to be pretty educated when you go in to vote, unless you're voting from mail-in ballot from home, which is what I do recommend, by the way. Someone needs to mute their Discord pings. I assure you it's not me, it's someone in the video.
If you're concerned about women's rights, if you're concerned...
It might be Bernie. To be fair, although I think people were pointing it out before he joined, I would suspect Bernie, considering he might not know how to use Discord and to, like, mute notifications. That might be his end. It's possible.
About climate change, if you're concerned about economic justice and the need to raise the minimum wage to a living wage, the need to get big money out of politics, the need to guarantee health care to all people as a human right, you can't sit out the election. You got to participate. So I hope we defy the experts and we see a very high turnout among younger people, and I hope people have the wisdom to vote for Kamala. So that's my speech. I'm sticking to it.
Thank you, Senator Sanders. We really appreciate it. I understand that.
What I love about Bernie, too, is that through and through, man, he's just a man of principle, isn't he? You know what he's going to say and do before he even says and does it, because he's just that consistent on his principles. Before he had even made a statement, when it came out that he couldn't win the last primary, that it was literally not possible and he had basically lost, we all knew he was going to make an announcement that wasn't just a he's stepping down announcement, but also an endorsement of literally whoever wins the primary, and he's going to campaign with whoever wins the primary. And that's exactly what he did. He, like, maybe 10% of his announcement, he was ending his run, was like, I'm sorry, I'm ending the run, it's not possible. The other 90% was, I need you, my supporters, to get behind whoever wins this nomination. We have to stop Donald Trump. And he has, without fail, endorsed and campaigned with the strongest nominee the moment he loses the nomination or cannot win it. Like, he fights the good fight to try to get the nomination, but the second it's over, he says GG, and he steps in line and he fights against the takeover of fascism. Because, frankly, I think he fully recognizes the reality that if Trump wins, especially this time around, there won't be another election. And he does seem to really care about people. So yeah, he is him. He's simply him.
Now you're going to give us an opportunity. We can ask you some questions. Is that right? Well, thank you. Thank you so much. Well, look, Senator Sanders, and I'm going to say this out to the audience. If you have a question for Senator Sanders, please feel free to put it in the chat. If we're able to pull it out, we'll go ahead and ask it. Senator Sanders, I'd like to start off by asking something that is near and dear to a lot of the folks that are watching today. Our community, a lot of communities across the website have been calling for a ceasefire and an end to Israel's actions in Gaza, and I understand you share this position as well. A lot of folks have been opposed to the Biden-Harris administration's military and financial support of Israel. We know that you've been opposed as well, but you're supporting the ticket. So we want to know, can you talk about why you're supporting her given your opposition to the Gaza stance?
All right, that's a very important question. Thanks for asking. So let me back it up a little bit. A year ago, October 7th, Hamas, which is a terrible terrorist organization, waged a horrific attack against Israel, killed 1,200 innocent men, women, and children, took several hundred hostages. In my view, Israel, like any other country, had the right to defend itself against Hamas. But what it did not have the right to do is go to war against the entire Palestinian people.
Yes.
And that is what Israel, under a very
oh my God. Dude, his take is perfect. I mean, I shouldn't really be surprised, but this is literally just my take through and through. I hadn't really heard Bernie speak on it other than condemning the civilian deaths, but like this is just exactly my take. Like Israel is a country, legitimate or not, in your opinion. It is a real country that has been around for decades and decades, long enough that there are people there who are born there, who are citizens of the established government there. They get attacked, and the military does have a responsibility for protected citizens, right? And he is completely correct that instead of defending their civilians, they have gone on to engage in massive amounts of both basically terrorism, stuff that if Hamas did it to them, they'd call it terrorism and no one would argue with it, and massive amounts of like infrastructure and property destruction, destroying homes, leaving people homeless, killing just countless kids at this point. And we're not even just talking about Gaza anymore. We're talking about in Lebanon too. The war and its reaches are growing. Like the tendrils of war are spreading out, and more civilians are getting caught in the crossfire.
Government led by Prime Minister Netanyahu. That is what they have done. The result of that all-out war against the Palestinian people in Gaza has been killing 42,000.
The way that because like the way that lefties talk about Israel is like it's fucking Mordor, dude. Like Sauron is there, fucking commanding legions of soldiers, and that's all Israel is, and it's just like this force of evil that must be toppled. They don't talk about it like it's an actual country that has elections and a government and people with like political opinions that need to be swayed. They talk about it like it's an entity, not a country. And Bernie talks about it like it's a country. Like, yeah, there are people there. Yeah, they have a government, and the leaders of their government right now are awful. Like, yes, this is the right kind of rhetoric. This is the type of rhetoric I like to see. Thank God. I love Bernie so much, man.
People out of a population of 2.2 million, 2/3 of whom are women, children, and the elderly. They have wounded, injured over 100,000. Again, 2/3.
I never heard that stat before. 63% are women, children, and elderly. People never count the elderly part. That makes up like over half of the population as women and children, or just children. But the women, children, and elderly bit gets you up to 63%, 62%, I think he said. Yeah, like we're really talking about a population that is made up of like barely any military-aged males, which really just kind of heaps the evidence together that this is a very one-sided thing, right?
Women, children, and the elderly. They have destroyed the healthcare system in Gaza. They have bombed every university in Gaza, destroyed the infrastructure in Gaza, destroyed about 60% of the housing in Gaza, displaced people, driven them here, there, and elsewhere. And now, as bad as that is, what is even worse, as a result of Israel under Netanyahu blocking humanitarian aid, today we're looking at thousands and thousands of children suffering from malnutrition and facing starvation. Now, as it happens, that is grossly immoral, unacceptable, and it is against the law. The United States of America, by law, cannot be funding a government which is denying humanitarian aid to civilians. So what we are doing right now is illegal, in my view, and that's why, I have fought against financial aid, military aid to the Israeli government for offensive.
Israel is holding its civilians hostage. if the U.S. does not support Israel, and mind you, like, there's like another like big bill that's supposed to go through to fund Israel soon as well. Netanyahu recognizes that the U.S. is in a situation where if Israel is being attacked and Israeli civilians are dying, it looks really, really bad for the sitting U.S. president. Now, you can say, oh, it looks really bad for the sitting U.S. president to support this regime. Now, what if there was no support to Israel? What if Israel, like, actually couldn't defend itself? What if Israel, like, had countless people getting, like, civilians getting bombed every day? Like, what if right now the talk was about the, like, Jewish slaughter happening in the Middle East? Israel would just nuke them? Well, that would be a pretty, yeah, that might also be a deterrent from not supporting Israel. But in all seriousness, could you imagine the political fucking, like, devastation of the sitting administration that allowed the, like, mass killing of Jews in Israel? No, like, seriously, though. Like Hamas succeeds. Israel actually cannot physically defend itself in this scenario. The Republicans immediately spin it as, like, the sitting Dem president enabling the mass killing of Jews in the Middle East. Like, instantly. Instantly, it's like the line that never gets let go of. It would be the next, like, Benghazi, but it would probably actually stick way longer than Benghazi did. So even on a political pressure standpoint, there may be political pressure not to support Israel, but if you know what happens if you withdraw funding and support for Israel, and you know that outcome is way worse in terms of public pressure, it kind of makes sense why you might be kind of strong-armed into that scenario. All of these pro-Palestine Twitter accounts want to actually wipe out Israel. A lot of them do. Yeah, there are a lot of people who say that, like, anyone who served in the IDF should, like, get the wall, and that is every Israeli citizen because they've got mandatory service or you get arrested. But yeah, no, those people are not serious activists, though. They are just LARPers. I want to make that very clear. They front themselves as serious activists. They'll act like they are. They are not. Do not take them seriously. They do not represent the movement that is centered around advocating for Palestinian rights and against Israel's war crimes. They are not representative of the actual movement.
Weapons, they have a right to defend themselves, or offensive weapons, and why, when Congress reconvenes after the election, I will have the resolution, it's called a joint resolution of disapproval, where we will have a vote to deny Israel being able to buy U.S. military equipment. So, you know, I agree very much with people who are terribly concerned about what's going on there. Now, the Biden administration, you know, I was just with the president today. I think on domestic issues, he has been very, very strong. I think on this issue, he is dead wrong. And I have talked to him over and over again. But all I would say to people say, well, I can't vote for Harris because I disagree with her on Israel and Gaza. Trump on even this issue is worse. He is worse. He is more pro Netanyahu than Biden and Harris are.
Remember, his son-in-law is planning to build some, and I quote, top-tier beachfront real estate once they flatten Gaza.
When it comes to humanitarian aid, feeding starving children, we can't get any Republican support in the United States Senate. So if we elect Harris, what you have my word on is I'm going to do everything I can to turn that view around. We do not need to be providing more offensive military aid to Israel, but we got a better chance to do it.
Remember, that's offensive military aid. I think I don't know if most people at this point are in favor of it. They probably are, but I think most people shouldn't be against defensive military aid to Israel. It is like that is a completely reasonable thing to do, especially since we are in a mutually beneficial relationship with Israel. And we obviously, in any other scenario, we would not be in favor of the U.S. pulling support for a population of civilians that are under attack, right? We didn't like it when Trump pulled us out of our presence in Syria and left the Kurds to fucking hanging. We didn't like it when the Republicans are trying to push for dropping all support and funding for Ukraine. We are obviously not in favor of the U.S. neglecting to protect civilians that are part of an allied population, right? That's no one here is in favor of that. But Bernie is on point. We do not need to be giving trillions to Israel or whatever for offense spending, not defense spending, but offense. They've got an insane insane amount of offensive capability for a country that should really just be focused on defending itself.
Under Kamala Harris than under Donald Trump.
Thank you, Senator Sanders, for your answer. That provided a lot of clarity. I'd like to move into something that affects a lot of Americans, and it's minimum wage. And
also, isn't all the funding to Israel going into the Iron Dome? No, Galaxy Bomb. In fact, the Iron Dome is only one of the defense systems around Israel. They've got multiple, and a lot of the funding goes to their offensive projects. In fact, a lot of their R&D funds are centered around urban war, like urban warfare. So, like, their tanks and their like armored vehicles are centered around and designed for clearing out streets, toppling buildings, and getting through urban environments, because that's the environment that they fight in. They plan to push through. Like, they are putting money into building invasion forces. Like, they have invasion forces they build for the purpose of taking more land, because Israel and its current government are nationalistic. They're nationalists. They believe that all the land that was once like Jerusalem or whatever should now be Israel, and that's a long way. Israel wants to own everything from the river to the sea, actually. So yeah, it's a big thing. Okay, it's a big thing. Israel's current government, the nationalist fervor behind it, that's the danger right now. They are the evil ones. They are a country, after all, not an entity. It's not like Israel does this, Israel does that. Netanyahu and his administration do this and that. It's important not to just sort of... It's important to remember, we're talking about a country. They have a government. They have leaders. Their leaders have politics. They could have different leaders and be a better country.
You and I both know that the minimum wage has not been increased, the federal minimum wage has not been increased in quite some time. Can you talk about how improving or increasing the minimum wage would help improve people's lives?
Well, Austin, that's a very, very good question. And I want everybody to...
So I'm curious to see what Bernie says, because here's my understanding of the situation due to research. Raising minimum wage is good, but it's only a Band-Aid solution, and it doesn't work across the board. So in a city like New York or LA, a $15 to $25 to even $30 minimum wage per hour is very reasonable. Most of the businesses in those areas are run by massive corporations that can absolutely afford that level of to pay their employees that much. They can afford it. In fact, doing so helps these city economies a lot, because those people end up having more spending money the corporations can absolutely afford to pay. And it also helps because these are also areas with higher cost of living. Being able to pay for that high cost of living and have a little extra money to spend on luxury and just fun things, it helps the economy. It's going to improve the economy of these places, right? That's obviously a natural improvement, and people's lives get better. Here's a couple of the drawbacks, though. Obviously, it is just a Band-Aid solution. A higher minimum wage doesn't help everybody. It doesn't fix high prices on things. It doesn't fix homelessness and people not being able to get jobs. It doesn't help people not being able to get into college and get degrees for better jobs, right? There's a lot that it doesn't solve. And there are certain situations where it's not an ideal solution. For example, the reason why there's never been a lot of support behind a base $15 minimum wage is that a $15 minimum wage in California is dog shit. Like, it is. Like, you need, realistically, minimum wage in California needs to be $25. Like, legitimate. Especially in LA, yeah. $25 an hour, and you might be able to get by in LA. Especially if you have roommates. But in a town like, I don't know. Let me think of a town that I've been to. What's a small town that I've been to? I'm thinking like Colorado. You ever been to like small Colorado towns, right? Where you just go up and down the street and like maybe there's a Walmart or two, but it's literally like going to Stardew Valley, but in real life. Like those just small middle America towns that are still surprisingly mom and pop. Those still exist. A lot of them do. I've driven around the country a lot. Okay, my hometown only has one Walmart. Yeah, exactly. There's a fair few places like that still. Places like that could not withstand a $15 an hour minimum wage. They don't need it either. Most of these small towns have like no homeless population, very low cost of living, and the businesses cannot afford to pay higher wages. They are paying as high of wages as they can afford to pay. And so there's been this big tug of war in the debate of raising minimum wage, because setting a national standard higher minimum wage in some parts of the country, it's not high enough. And in others, it's too high and isn't needed to begin with. It would actually cause more problems than it solves in some areas. Or we could get rid of the minimum wage and instead go for universal income that guarantee a livable wage for everyone. Yeah, exactly. So listen, the policy isn't perfect, but it's a Band-Aid solution. It's better than nothing, but I figure I should at least talk about that fact, you know, that like, in case you're on board with the whole like, yeah, let's just set a national $15 minimum wage. It's not the golden policy that you might assume it is. There is a lot of, even from the left, concern about its efficacy.
Here, that's because it's not talked about terribly much in the corporate media. But the reality is today we have more income and wealth inequality than we have ever had in the history of this country. People on top are doing phenomenally well, while 60 million people are living paycheck to paycheck. I grew up in a family that lived paycheck to paycheck. I think many of your viewers are living paycheck to paycheck, struggling to pay the rent, to pay for food, to pay for healthcare. And it is an extremely stressful life.
True.
In the midst of that, as you have indicated, the minimum wage has not been raised for a very, very long time. And today it is an embarrassingly low $7.25 an hour. What we have got to do, among many other things, is raise the minimum wage to a living wage. Okay, and I've introduced the legislation.
Dude, you want to know the most working class feeling ever? If you don't know what this feeling is like, you aren't working class, okay? The most working class feeling in the world is breathing a deep sigh of relief and finally getting to relax for the rest of the month when your bank account finally has enough money to pay all your bills in it for that month. Like, you're like, okay, that's rent. Okay, that's electricity. That's gas. That's water. That's internet. That's groceries. Okay, this month is covered. And then just finally, like, you don't even realize how tense you had been for like 20 something days of the month until you get your paycheck and you count it all up and you're like, yeah, okay, we're gonna make it. And you can just breathe and you're like, all right, another month survived. That is the true living paycheck to paycheck feeling. If you know that feeling, if you have felt that like exhale and like untensing to the point where you didn't even realize how tense you were until it goes away, that is the most working class feeling.
In the Senate to do that. In my own perspective, my own view is that minimum wage should be at least $17 an hour. Because you have now, it's not that you have so many people working for $7.25 an hour, but you have millions of people working for $9, $10, $12 an hour. And you tell me, whether you're in New York City or in rural America, you can't make it on $12 an hour. You just can't. So it seems to me.
Well, that's the problem. In rural America, businesses can't afford to pay that much. But Bernie is still on the money. Like, in reality, if Bernie were to draft this policy, he would account for these problems. It wouldn't just be he would touch it up to work as best as possible. Bernie's a smart man.
That if people are going to work 40 hours a week, they should not be living in poverty. Now, the difference here, you may have seen the other day, Donald Trump was in McDonald's doing what he was doing.
Yes.
Flipping hamburgers or whatever he was doing.
Yep.
And a reporter said to him, Mr. Trump, what's your view on the minimum wage? And then he
Quality will go down with $15 an hour pay, no budget for R&D. Raptor engine. You are aware that, like, large corporations, the ones that I suggest should be beholden to the idea of having to pay a higher minimum wage, you realize these companies have CEOs that, like, in some cases have, like, multi-$100 million golden parachutes. That means if the company fails, if everything goes belly up, they get to leave the company and take home tens, if not hundreds of millions of dollars for themselves. Even if at that moment they can retire, buy a mega mansion, a yacht, servants, cars, anything you could imagine. They'll never spend it all. They'll be giving tens of millions of inheritance to their kids and grandkids. that is the reality for some of the highest ups at some of the biggest corporations in the world. And many of the biggest corporations have a whole team of people who have these massive golden parachutes, as they call them. These corporations are so wealthy that even if they go belly up, the highest up get to walk away with life-changing amounts of money. All right? I assure you, these large corporations can afford to pay a higher minimum wage and still put money into R&D. If you think these companies have actually been putting as much money and work into improving the product as they could be, and especially in recent years, then you are wrong. In fact, companies have been cutting corners and trying to get away with it at every possible turn, from food products being shrinkflated. That is to say, prices don't really change, or they might inflate, while packaging gets slightly smaller, or hell, packaging might stay the same, but the amount of food inside gets smaller. And the amount that you pay either doesn't change or might even go up in the worst case scenario. Look at just any products made with plastic and whatnot that come out these days. Companies are constantly cutting corners and they fall apart. Their build quality gets worse. It is very clear that companies, especially companies like Boeing, hell, they work in aeronautics, making airplanes that people fly on. Companies cut corners even when they're making a profit, because it's not about getting by for these massive corporations. It's about scraping every last penny into their profit that they can and cutting as many corners as possible without everything blowing up in their faces immediately.
He completely ducked the question because he doesn't believe in raising the minimum wage. He talked about how great McDonald's workers are. Truth is, you got thousands of McDonald's workers and millions of other workers trying to get by 12, 13, 14 bucks an hour. I believe we should raise the minimum wage to 17 bucks an hour. Kamala Harris believes that we should raise it to at least $15 an hour. If you raise it to 15 bucks an hour, not enough for me, but a good start, we can we can help the lives of millions and millions of working people. Trump does not believe we should raise the minimum wage. Kamala, 15 bucks an hour, at least, is what I think she said. So we're going to work on it. We've got it even higher than that. That's a real difference between the two candidates.
Thank you, Senator Sanders, for your answer. Right now...
And at least it's because there are tons of places in the country where $15 minimum wage just isn't enough. New York and LA are notorious examples. Legitimately, you can't survive off that much in those cities. New York especially. New York is probably the most expensive place to live in the entire country, easily.
Senator, we have a YouTuber that's going to be a guest, and they'd like to ask you a question. Their name is Kamal, was taken. Kamal, are you with us? There we are. There they are.
Oh, boy.
Hey, Kamal, how are you?
I'm good. How are you doing?
They're
good. Senator Sanders is here for you, and he's eager to answer your question.
Okay. Am I on camera?
You are. We see you perfectly.
Okay. Sorry.
No,
Hi,
you're good.
Senator Sanders. Sanders, first off, thank you so much for doing this. My hand is literally shaking. I'm talking to a celebrity. Obviously, Donald Trump has a lot of weirdo billionaire backers, people like Peter Thiel, Elon Musk, Mr. Dark Mac himself. I have a lot of family who are strong Trump supporters, but also care deeply about things like Social Security. So what would you tell my family to convince them that Trump's plans of all these...
I can already tell you what Bernie will tell you. Donald Trump, during his presidency, nearly destroyed Obamacare. This provided health care to millions of Americans. He tried to remove it from people who had pre-existing conditions. This would uninsure millions of Americans, practically everyone who used Obamacare, the Affordable Care Act. Donald Trump and Republicans have a decades-long history of cutting Social Security. You could just go down the list. I mean, dog, that is an easy question to answer as a Democrat. Man, the Republicans have made it very easy to prove that they are not in favor of Social Security programs.
Tax cuts for billionaires. How would you convince them that this is actually not in their best interest?
When Trump was president, I think if he were on the show, he would tell you that his proudest achievement was the tax cuts that he implemented.
Right.
And they were huge. 83% of them went to the top 1%.
Right.
Of course.
Well, I am guessing that your family, maybe I'm wrong, is probably not in the top 1%.
They're definitely not. The definition of middle class.
Okay. So we don't need, at a time when the rich are doing phenomenally well, more tax breaks for the rich. What do we need? We need to strengthen Social Security. I believe, that we should expand Social Security benefits. What I will tell you is that 80% of the Republicans in the House of Representatives think we should cut Social Security. They think we should move to the privatization of Medicare. So if you believe that we should keep Medicare and Social Security strong, I do not think it's wise to be voting for Donald Trump. If you think we should raise the minimum wage, you should not be voting for Trump. If you believe that health care is a human right, when Trump was president, he tried to end the Affordable Care Act. Now, I'm not a great fan of the Affordable Care Act, but it is providing health care to millions of Americans. I think we got to move to
Yes! I told you guys. Like, dude, Bernie is fucking based.
Medicare for all. But please tell your family that Trump's main concern is protecting the interest of the billionaire class. He could care less about the middle class.
All right. Okay. Thank you. I will relay the message. I hope it works.
Thanks very much, Jamal. Take care.
Thank you, Kamal. I appreciate it. Thank you, Senator Sanders. I believe we do have some other guests that are ready to ask some questions, but I'll ask a question here on a different topic. And it's one that you're very familiar with and you've been fighting for quite some time. And we collectively thank you for that. How do you feel about the current state of healthcare? Do you think
his bread and butter?
Do you think everyone has access to the care they need, or is more change necessary? I mean, I think we know the answer, but yeah.
Awesome. Thanks for that question, because again, it is not discussed very much in the corporate media or in the halls of Congress. Under Obama, we passed the Affordable Care Act, which expanded coverage to a whole lot of people, and that's a good thing. But it doesn't get to the root of our problem right now. I don't know how many of the viewers know that we are the only major country on earth not to guarantee health care to every man, woman, and child as a human right. Do you all know that? I am right now in Burlington, Vermont, 50 miles away from the Canadian border. If you go up to Canada, a country very much like the United States, since the 1970s, they have had a system in which if you end up in the hospital for 2 weeks, you don't come out with a $100,000 bill or whatever. There is no bill. It is publicly funded. They spend half as much per person as we do, because
I'm jealous.
Let me ask you this.
Dude, it's so funny because I've got Canadian friends and I love showing them like stories or just like reading to them people's like Americans' medical stories. Like even when they have insurance and they have everything they need to get the care they need, this is the process of getting the care you need. Even when it's life-changing, like life-saving stuff, like getting like cancer removed from you. Months and months and months of work, talking to doctors, working with your insurance company, getting second opinions. I show that to Canadian friends and they're like, what the fuck?
Anyone want to jump in? What is the function of the American healthcare system? Is it to provide quality care to all people? Or is it to what do you think it is, Austin?
I mean, I would assume it's a for-profit industry for health insurance companies.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
Everybody knows that.
They monetize people's health.
And here's the result. The result is the pharmaceutical industry makes tens and tens of billions of dollars a year, charging us the highest prices in the world for prescription drugs. Now, by the way, on the Biden and Harris, and I just did an event with the president in Concord, New Hampshire.
Insulin.
We have made some progress in lowering the cost of prescription drugs. Made some real progress. But we still pay by far the highest prices in the world for prescription drugs.
He didn't specify, but insulin, big one. Seniors and I believe some non-seniors now qualify for massively discounted insulin, like $15 a vial or something, as opposed to the $300, $400 it was before. Basically the prices that you could get them for in Mexico, like for decades now, which they always should have been here without the inflated prices due to pharmaceutical companies getting away with it here. But no, like they actually have made immense progress, and the people who have received that help, like this is the whole issue of like access to insulin in particular has been a talking point for Democrats and the left for like a decade plus now. Biden is the first politician to do really anything about it on a national level. I found a few articles covering it, enough that I was able to educate myself about and talk about the topic, but I was pretty much the only content creator I have been able to find up to this point who talked about that. I'm the only content creator I've been able to find up to this point that's talked about half of the achievements and policies Biden did in his time in office. There was not a lot of attention, so I really don't blame you if you didn't know that Biden had capped the price for insulin.
Our system is designed to make profits not only for the drug companies, but the insurance companies as well. That's what the system is about, and it's working. But meanwhile, we have 85 million people uninsured or underinsured, and I suspect many of the viewers today may have health insurance, but they have deductibles of $5,000, $10,000, and they can't afford to go to the doctor because they don't have the money to pay out of pocket.
Pastor Dean, our resident sort of conservative class pet, says healthcare is not a human right. Well, if you're ever wondering about the conservative opinion, there you go. healthcare and being in good health is not a human right. Conservatives do in fact believe this. I'm glad that we have sort of like a conservative like class pet that we can consult. Like, what does the right think of on this issue? I think people should die. Thank you. That was going to be my point, but hearing it come from an actual conservative, it's way more like, you don't have to take my word for it, you know?
So,
Dean, that's not what Jesus thinks? Guys, Christians do not actually follow what Jesus thinks. They would call him a socialist and crucify him if he like existed today.
Bottom line here is the current system is broken. It is dysfunctional. It is cruel. 60,000 people a year die because they don't get to a doctor when they should. So my own view is we should look at the rest of the industrialized world. They manage to guarantee healthcare to all as a human right. We should do the same. I'm leading the effort on what we call Medicare for all, to expand Medicare, not just to the elderly, but to every man, woman, and child in this country.
It's insane to me that we live in the United States of America. This is the state of our healthcare. I went to an emergency room, Senator Sanders, in Florida, had a minor procedure done, $10,000 bill, surprise medical bill. It happens to folks, I'm sure, every single.
I got charged $800 for a ambulance ride. That was one line on the hospital bill. That was one single part of the total on the hospital bill. Thank God I was on my parents' insurance. Good God. A fucking $800 fucking ambulance bill. I got charged $930 for a private ambulance bill, and I was close to the hospital too. They did not drive me far. I was not in that thing for long, and they charged $800 for that shit.
Single day. It's unbelievable.
It is unbelievable. Yeah. And Austin, you know what the story is? You say that, and people say, oh my God, I don't feel well. I need to go to the emergency room. I'm not going to go to the emergency room.
Yes.
I'm not even going to get on an ambulance because it could cost me a couple of $1,000. It is an insane system. It is a cruel. Give you one other fact on this. You're getting me going here.
No, it's okay. It's okay.
All right. I want you to hear this. You know, somebody comes down with cancer. Think about it. You're fighting for your life. You don't know if you're going to live or not. Turns out that 25% of the people who have cancer treatment, have had cancer treatment, either go bankrupt or deplete their family's financial resources. So you are struggling with cancer. You're dealing with chemotherapy. You don't know whether you're going to live or die, blah, blah, blah.
This is actually a talking point that I heard from Bernie for the first time. I feel he should repeat it here. I think it's like 40% of Americans, or no, it's like, I think it's 60% of Americans cannot afford a $400 emergency. Could be a medical one, could be a financial one, someone gets arrested and needs to be bailed out, could be a flat tire or a broken down car. Something that happens, an emergency, that costs $400 to fix and needs to be fixed. 60% of Americans cannot afford that happening to them, or it is genuinely, like, catastrophic, like the end of the world for their situation. It's, like, staggering how many Americans are $400 away from everything falling apart.
And then you got to worry about whether your family is going to be financially ruined. For what? Because you came down with a terrible disease. It is vulgar. It is disgusting. It is not worthy of the wealthiest nation on earth. So, you know, you got Trump out there who, when he was president, tried to kill the Affordable Care Act, make a bad situation worse. Kamala is going to protect that, at least. She's going to lower the cost of prescription drugs. Major problem. But overall, we have got to continue the effort to make sure that every man, woman, and child in this country has health care as a human right, and not a system which simply allows for huge profits for the drug companies.
That's Mark Hamill.
Companies.
I just randomly fucking Mark Hamill just joined. Hi, Mark Hamill. Welcome to the live streamer call with Bernie Sanders, the voice of Joker and also Luke Skywalker. I think that I'm pretty certain that's Mark Hamill, right? The lighting's a little fucked and the camera angle's weird, but I'm pretty certain that's Mark Hamill.
Senator Sanders, thank you so much. We have another guest here to ask, I believe, one final question for you. His name is Mark Hamill. Mark, thank you so much for joining.
Yeah, what the fuck? Holy shit, dude. Oh my God. This goes fucking crazy. Firelord Ozai is here.
Joining us. It's a pleasure to have you. We're all huge fans. And I understand you have a question for Senator Sanders.
Hey,
yeah, well, first of all, it's a great honor to meet Senator Sanders, someone who I followed all my adult life, and I'm grateful for his service. Now, when it comes to the question, I'm sure we all...
What the fuck is this crossover, dude? What is happening? Dude, fucking Jack Black joins next. They bring in fucking Keanu Reeves. Good Lord.
all saw the stunt that Trump pulled yesterday at a closed restaurant with people hired to play customers and work at McDonald's. I noticed when he was asked whether they should raise the minimum wage in regards to workers like that in fast food restaurants.
Mind you, McDonald's, perfect example of a corporation that can absolutely afford to pay like a $25 minimum wage nationally. That would be a perfect example of a company like that. Good one, Mark.
He avoided the question entirely. Didn't even attempt to answer it. Now, the minimum wage hasn't been raised in decades. You probably know better than I think, maybe 2000.
Oh, I do. Yep.
Okay, well, basically, I just want to hear your thoughts on all that I just put forward.
Okay, very briefly, we talked about it a moment ago, but bottom line is you're quite right, Mark. Trump ducked the issue, despite the fact that there are thousands of McDonald's workers trying to.
Pastor Dean says, I make $8,500 a month. Pastor Dean, we know we saw your house in the background of your videos, right? That's all I have to say.
Get by on 12 or 13 bucks an hour, and millions of American workers. All right. Trump does not believe that we should raise the federal minimum wage, which is now $7.25 an hour. That's horrific. Kamala Harris believes that we should raise it to at least $15 an hour, which means that many millions of workers will get a substantial pay raise. So it is a very, very important issue, and one that I feel passionately about. I happen to believe the minimum wage should be at least 17 bucks an hour. Kamala thinks at least 15. We will discuss that, but at least we have got to raise that to a livable wage and not have Trump's position that leaves it at 7.25.
Thank you. And I personally worked at McDonald's. I never put it on my resume, but it was interesting because when I first worked at McDonald's.
It's funny. You know what business paid $15 an hour? The state of Florida. When I worked as a lifeguard at Weeki Wachee Springs National Park at Buccaneer Bay, my starting pay as a 16-year-old working my first job was $15 an hour as a lifeguard working for the state government. Anti-woke, right-wing, red Florida pays their state workers a starting wage of $15 an hour. Interesting. As a Floridian, $15 an hour is still too little. It's definitely not perfect, but man, I was working as a lifeguard in Hernando County, dog. $15 an hour is a good wage in Hernando County, Florida, all right? The cost of living is not too high there.
I was living at home, and it was just pure profit. Fast forward to working at Jack in the Box when I was in my first year of college, and I couldn't live on that then. That was 50 years ago. So
that's right. And people can't. And by the way, they can't if they don't get the health insurance they get. It's pathetic as well.
Exactly.
So, look, it's an embarrassment that you have a so-called billionaire like Trump who doesn't think that we should raise the minimum wage above $7.25 an hour. All right. With that, Austin, I think I'm going to have to run.
Yeah, sure.
So listen, thank you all very.
Dude, Bernie is fucking. Bernie is fucking like a serious and busy man when he has to cut off a conversation with Mark Hamill to go do some shit. Good Lord. That's a flex. That's like the biggest flex. That's always been my plan. If I ever meet like a really famous celebrity, like, I don't know, Brad Pitt or something in public, I'd be like, whoa, are you Brad Pitt? Oh, man. Yeah, it's super cool to meet you. Listen, I'm really busy. I got stuff to do. I gotta go. And just act like I'm too busy to stick around talking with Brad Pitt. And for like 10 seconds, he's gonna think, damn, that guy's a busy dude. He doesn't give a fuck that he just met me. That's wild. And it might even stick with him. That's my plan.
Very much for what you're doing, guys. This is an enormously important election. Let's get everybody out to vote. Let's win this thing for Kamala. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Senator Sanders, for your time.
Nice to meet you.
Thank you, Senator. Thank you. Well, that was amazing. Mark, do you have a few
God, I
moments
missed
to sit and chat with us?
Sure. What's going on?
Holy crap.
Well, Mark, is this your...
Okay, you'll understand if I stick around for the Mark Hamill bit, okay? You'll understand if we stick around a bit for the Mark Hamill section here. Okay, I was not expecting this surprise appearance, all right? That's fucking crazy, dude.
First time on Twitch?
I think so.
Well, welcome. Give him a round of applause. There's a lot of people watching right now.
Do you play Fortnite by any chance?
What?
Nobody has a skin in Fortnite. Actually, he has multiple skins in Fortnite. Joker has a skin. Luke Skywalker has a skin. There is no Firelord Ozai skin, but there is, I think Zuko has a skin, so that's kind of close. So he's in Fortnite. multiple times actually.
No, I'm going to go do a fundraiser for Democrats.
That's
with
amazing.
gamers, and I have to tell them in advance.
We love you.
I haven't played games since my kids were small. So,
Aww.
I know. It's terrible. But I mean, it's the same with Star Wars. I haven't seen those movies since they first came out. I don't go back and watch them again.
Yeah.
That's crazy to me. Like, Mark Hamill might have only seen the versions of Star Wars that originally aired in theaters. How crazy of a thought is that? That, like, when he remembers the movies as he saw them, he's remembering before all of the edits and shit. Because he never watched the movie after they came out. Like, the Star Wars movies after they came out. That's so wild to me, dude.
These people will come up to me and ask me these questions, and they've seen those movies far more times than I have, far more recently than I have. And they play the games, they read the comics, they read the novels.
He's like,
one guy was saying to me, when you went to the Wookiees' home planet, I said, wait a minute, did we go to the Wookiees' home planet? Well, it wasn't in a movie, it was in Splinter of the Mind's Eye. Splinter of the Mind's Eye. Oh, it's a novel by Harry Dean Foster. Again, I mean, I disappoint fans because they know more about it than I do.
God, oh man, that's my favorite thing is hearing like actors tell stories from meeting like autistic hyper fixated fans on that media, and they know more about it than like the actor or even author sometimes does. And like, God, those stories are always the best, bro. They're always the best.
No, you're never a disappointment. Also, if you ever want to learn, it would be easy. So just know it's always at your disposal, you know?
Oh, well, that's good to know.
Mark,
man, Pokimane shooting her shot. God damn, she's trying to rizz up the ham. Let's go.
Again, it's amazing. So you're doing a fundraiser. Where are you doing the fundraiser at?
Well, I've been accepting any Zoom that they request. So I've done it for Colin Allred and Ruben Gallego and Gloria Johnson, Debbie Mucarsel Powell, Josh Stein, Whitney Fox, and on and on and on and on and on. Because I feel like that's the least I can do. I mean, I can't always travel to the state, but I can certainly come in the dining room and give them a couple of hours on my computer. So I don't know. It's coming up. My wife's not here right now, but she'll remind me. It's, I think, this coming week.
Amazing. That's amazing. Mark, look, I know, I know your time is precious. I just want to ask you just a couple of quick questions. Obviously, we're all here for the same reason. We want to get people out to vote for Kamala Harris. What policy issue is really driving you to the polls? What's something that's really most important to you?
Well, first of all, I just want to compliment the names of these people, Valkyrie and Pokimane. Is that your?
Oh yeah, these are usernames. An absolute honor to hear you utter that name.
Damn, Mark Hamill dropping the Riz. God damn, that's fucking crazy, bro. Bro dropping the Riz. All right, man. This is what we like to see. Mark Hamill still got the Riz.
Thank you so much, sir. Nice to meet you. Do I need to pay you for that? Because I will.
You got the Joker Riz.
That's not the name on your birth certificate, right?
No. It's just a username.
Austin Show is on my birth certificate.
Oh, it is?
He was born to be a star.
Bro, man is risen. You can see how red Pokimane is, bro. Dude, Valkyrie's red too, bro. Man, Mark Hamill, he's got aura. I'm telling you, man. His aura is immaculate.
Yeah.
Listen, there's the one main issue for me is preserving democracy. Because
yes, sir.
It's democracy versus autocracy. He tells you what he's going to do. I mean, Google Project 2025 is absolutely horrifying. Getting rid of the Department of Education and firing 50,000 civil servants who are nonpartisan to install loyalists. It's weird. I mean,
it's weird. Yes.
Well, there's a reason he admires Viktor Orban, because he wants to do what Viktor Orban did, which was get elected democratically, then disassemble the media and put loyalists in across the board and transform into a dictator. It's really scary. The stakes couldn't be higher. And I have a good feeling about this, because I do believe there are more good, decent people that realize what a charlatan and a villain he is. Probably the worst thing that's ever happened to this country was electing this game show host with no, when he first got in, I thought, because I lived in New York theater for 17 years, and I said, well, he has no moral convictions about anything. No. He could surprise us and be really good on climate change or, no. Once he realized that, it's the way he got into politics. When he started pushing the birther lies about Obama not being born in America, he got a great reaction. So
what I it's so wild that Mark Hamill, such a beloved actor, is so tapped into politics, to the extent that he's basically a political pundit at this point. Mark Hamill is practically a left-wing political pundit. Like, he spends a lot of his time advocating against the rise of fascism in this country, something that, like, no actor is expected to really do, but he does. He uses his platform and his fame to spread a good message, and it's just fucking based, dude. I love it. Makes me happy.
Realize the easiest path to success is through these extremists who are and appealing to all the darkest elements in human nature, anger, resentment, racism, big.
That's true. The right has Kid Rock. How will we ever recover?
Big. Let's figure, you know, I mean, the Obama lie is birtherism. He's just vile in every respect.
Yes. And
I actually have a question, if that's okay.
Go ahead, Pokey.
As you said, there are so many issues at stake right now, and I actually wanted to ask this to Bernie as well, but since you have to run, I'll ask you instead. Are there any resources that you could recommend for voters who want to get more informed? Anything you suggest?
Well, the simplest thing, and I always tell my kids to tell their kids, to tell their friends, to tell their friends, iwillvote.com. It's so simple. You go to iwillvote.com, and within 60 seconds, you can be registered. You can figure out where you can go to physically vote, how to get mail-in ballots. That's one of the easiest ways to get
Mark Hamill.
Knowledgeable about that.
Austin, I think that's a good question for you too, because I feel like, you know, over the last 48 hours, all of this coming together, I've come to learn how much you know. Like, you're so knowledgeable on politics.
Me? You talking to me?
Yeah.
That's
are there
legit.
any resources you would suggest for people as well?
Look, I mean, I think
That's legit. Like I just said, super impressive that, like, Mark Hamill, a famous actor and voice actor, has gone out of his way to educate himself so much on politics and to use his platform to speak on it so much. It's like, it's not unprecedented, not like unwanted, but it's like this. And what's the fucking Star Wars line? Here it is. I found it. A surprise, to be sure, but a welcome one. Real.
I think it's important to understand, you know, in social media is a nightmare. Mark, I don't know if you're on social media. It is crazy. It's chaotic. Oh, go ahead.
Well, no, I'm on Twitter, which I do myself, and
Sure.
then my daughter Chelsea repurposes my Twitter for Instagram.
Sure.
I quit Facebook.
That's so nice of her.
I quit Facebook in 2016 in protest of the way they handled Hillary. It just pissed me off. I mean, obviously no one cares, but I'm looking for I loathe.
Dude, Mark is based. He's been on the Facebook hate train since they've been, like, started peddling misinfo on their platform for profit. And now Mark Zuckerberg has come out and said they will not comply with any White House requests to censor or repress misinfo and conspiracies ever again, even if it's the president's son's, like, revenge porn. They will not suppress or ban it. And Mark Zuckerberg specifically touted that Elon Musk's quote-unquote bravery is what inspired him. That Elon Musk has, like, proven that there's not serious consequences to denying the White House when they want you to, like, run your platform well, and that they can just get away with, like, monetizing off of rage bait, misinfo, and conspiracies.
Elon Musk so much now.
Oh,
I'm looking for a reason to get off Twitter, and if I do,
all of us are. Yeah.
Well, if I get off Twitter, I'm not going to do social media anymore.
Well, we're all looking for an escape from X or whatever they call it now. I still call it Twitter. But you know,
Everyone calls it Twitter. Everyone calls it Twitter.
Exactly.
As I tweeted, I said, you could. What if he bought Coca-Cola and decided to call it Flurbu Goo Goo? No one would call it Flurbu Goo Goo. They call it Coke.
And
Exactly.
we still don't tell him.
The idiotic thing he did was try and
No.
change things. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
We tweet. We don't excrete.
Yeah, no, yeah. He made it sound like a whole different website when he made that.
He's proud of that one too. You can tell that was a good one. We tweet. We don't excrete. That is crazy.
When he made that change, and look. What I was going to say about Twitter, Mark, and you can probably attest to this, and all of us can attest to this since you're on it, is my advice to people would be, you're stuck in an algorithm, okay? You're stuck in an algorithm, and often you're stuck in a feedback loop of sometimes a lot of negative information, all right? It's not a real place. So my advice to people would be, number one, put your head down. Don't let it stress you out on day to day, and get out and vote. I mean, you have the privilege to get out and vote, and that's why we're here. Exclamation point vote in the chat. There's a lot of resources there to help guide you. It's really important, but because I've been really stressed out. I think a lot of us are stressed out in this election cycle in particular because of what's at stake. And I've found comfort in just understanding that I have a good feeling about this. We've got. I agree with you, Mark. There's a lot of decent people, and I think it represents a large majority in this country that are going to go out and vote for this ticket. And I think that we've got a great opportunity to win.
Well, the fact that he could even be renominated after January 6th just blows my mind.
I know.
It's just the list of crimes he's committed, the stolen documents, the fake electors, and on and on and on. We don't need to go through it all, but I'm old enough to remember when
this video is crazy
because he was sitting. There was a photo with him sitting with a woman who wasn't his wife sitting on his lap. This guy. We can't find his kryptonite because whatever he does, there is no more Republican Party. Let's be clear about that.
Mm-hmm.
There's an extremist MAGA cult of personality. They believe whatever he says, no matter what. I mean, it's laughable when he's up in arms over Kamala lying about working at McDonald's. Are you kidding me? The Washington Post said he lied 33,000 plus times just 4 years in office. God knows how many times he's lied since then. I mean, everything that comes out of his mouth, basically.
Yep. Yeah. No. Everything. And it's crazy. And you mentioned the old Republican Party, which, there's still a lot of problems with the old Republican Party, but this was a party that would talk often about decency. This is a party that when Obama was president, they would criticize him for wearing a tan suit. You remember this? He shows up in a tan suit to a press conference. And this is the same Republican Party that doesn't.
Wasn't there like controversy over, there was like a sauce controversy, wasn't there, that involved Obama? It was like super dumb. Like he had gotten a sauce on a hot dog. Like he had, instead of getting mustard, had gotten something else, or he had gotten like there was just something he ate that wasn't like the most American like sauce option, I guess. And the right made that, like Fox News was running stories on what color Obama's suit was, on what food he ate. Whatever they could do, they went after. Dijon mustard. He had eaten Dijon mustard instead of normal mustard, I guess, and that was like that Fox News legitimately ran stories about this. I'm not joking. Hold on. Obama mustard scandal. The big controversy at this point in Obama's presidency was over Dijon mustard. President Trump chronically suffers high disapproval ratings, spending the spring more disliked than any of his recent predecessors. We're at the same points in their first terms. On Thursday, Bloomberg News offered a bit more perspective. When President Barack Obama was at the same point in his first term as President Trump is now, Americans were really angry at him about mustard. Here, let me bring up the tweet. Here we go. Sean Hannity attacks Obama for ordering Dijon mustard. The elitist un-American meme returns as Sean Hannity attacks Obama for ordering Dijon mustard. Pathetic, desperate, dying right-wing will all come to mind. I'm surprised he didn't mention that the joint probably doesn't even serve any freedom fries either. Barack Obama's mustard. President puts spicy mustard on burger and lands in new elitist pickle with the right. Grey Poupon wants Obama to pardon Dijon lovers. Legal insurrection. MSNBC hides Obama's Dijon mustard, a.k.a. Dijon Gate. I need you to understand that the right will turn anything into a scandal that they will use as a reason for why, like, they believe that the Dems are supporting an awful person. They'll claim it is elitist to order a certain type of mustard.
Bat an eye when Trump gets on his podium and talks about Arnold Palmer's penis. I mean, it's insane. I mean, it's insane. It's ludicrous.
The enablers are shocking enough. Franklin Graham, they printed his quote about Bill Clinton and Monica Lewinsky side by side with what he said about Trump. And of course, I mean, I'm paraphrasing. One is, this is outrageous that he would lie to his wife. If he would lie to his wife, why wouldn't he lie to the public? That's, and then Trump, he marches to his own drummer. It's his own private life. We shouldn't be concerned with what does in private, and they're all hypocrites. I mean, the one thing that's interesting is the amazing amount of Republicans who put country over party. I mean, the obvious one, like the Cheneys and Adam Kinzinger and so forth. I mean, Kamala had an event the other day where there were over 100 Republicans. I mean, the problem is most Republicans in office probably loathe them as much as we do, but they're indebted to their districts. I mean, if they're in districts that support them, they can't publicly say that. But I have a feeling, I mean, I said this look what happened in the midterms in 2022. There's going to be a huge red wave.
Oh, yeah.
We're going to gain 40 seats.
I'm telling you, man, the Republicans were supposed to win big in 2022, and there was a blue wave. The Republicans massively underperformed in 2022 during the midterms. Donald Trump's approval rating was ass, and he failed. He couldn't win in 2020. I'm not saying you should completely forego all worries and become complacent, but man, there's not a lot of reasons to expect that there's going to be a red wave this year. It is, honestly, it seems like it would have to be a miracle for the Republicans to pull through with, even if they win, it won't be a strong win. That's for sure. And it almost certainly will not be with the popular vote. If Trump wins, mark my words, he's not getting the popular vote. It just won't happen. Like, he might lose by millions of votes and still win. That's still possible. He won't win the popular vote. Even if he wins the election, he won't get the most votes. That's impossible. It won't happen. It's never happened before, by the way.
When they overturned Dobbs, it wasn't even a red trickle. It was, I think they gained 2 seats when they were expecting 40. And I think they've unleashed, awoken a sleeping giant. When you take away a right that a woman has had for over 50 years to have control over her own body without the government.
Dude, women are going to... 2020 was the year when Black Americans genuinely stopped fascism. I'm not joking. You can look down or look at the states that won Biden the election, and then you can look at the districts that flipped for Biden. They are mostly non-white, mostly Black and Hispanic. Black and Hispanic Americans came out in droves and elected Biden. Without that part of the vote, Trump would have won. We would have been in fascism 4 years ago, were it not for Black America. This is the time where women are going to have to come out in droves as well in order to stop fascism. And it is their election. 2020 was very much a race-focused election. I think we can all agree on that. Like with the George Floyd stuff, with the protests, with the discussion of police reform. It was a very race-focused election. For that reason, there was a lot of discussion of, well, like, Black Americans go with Trump or Biden, and they hard went with Biden. Now, this time around, it is a very gender-focused election. Can you have kids? Are you trans? Are you gay? It's once again a situation where the ball is in a particular group's court, for lack of a better saying. Like, Trump, as a candidate who would destroy this country, has particularly targeted a group in the last 4 years, and that group will hopefully come out in droves to recognize the danger of one of these candidates and vote for the opposite. It happened in 2020. Hopefully it can happen again this year, but with women.
And telling her what to do. It's an outrage. And I think that,
and frankly, despite making up a pretty small amount of the country in general, LGBT people across the board who are eligible of voting are going to vote hard this election too. You better believe it. Like, LGBT people across the board are going to vote hard for Kamala. I mean, come on, obviously. Consider the policies that have been happening. Like, yeah.
That's what they're not polling, because apparently there was, after Taylor Swift and Billie Eilish and all these people, there was something like almost a million, like 800,000 plus new registered women between the ages of 18 and 35. Yeah. And none of them were polled, because they only polled people that voted in the last election. Yep. That's why I don't like saying this, because I don't want people to be complacent. I think she's going to beat him by a bigger margin than Biden did. And Biden beat him by...
I've been saying this too. I hope me and Mark are both right, that there is genuinely going to be a overperformance by Kamala Harris than what is expected. I have been betting this for months. I've been betting that not only will Kamala Harris overperform, I have been betting that Joe Biden would overperform. Before Kamala Harris was even discussed as replacing him in a serious way, I have been suggesting that Biden is going to overperform and perhaps win harder than he did in 2020. And I suggested after Biden was forced out that Kamala Harris will overperform hard as a representation of the fact that the support for Biden, despite being very strong, was practically just silent. Like everyone had decided who they were voting for already. Kamala Harris getting introduced just made people loud about who they were going to support this election on the left again. It was already presumed, yeah, vote for Biden. What's the big deal? What's the point of making a big deal about it? Kamala Harris comes along. Everyone's got to talk about how they're going to vote for the new candidate, right?
7 million.
Yep.
Don't get me started on the Electoral College. If it weren't for the Electoral College, Gore beat W by 500,000 votes. Hillary beat him by nearly 3 million, like 2,875,000, whatever. I loathe the Electoral College just because in my lifetime, if it weren't for W, we wouldn't have had the war in Iraq that they lied us into. And look at the history of the Electoral College. It was created in the Civil War.
They lied us into trickle-down economics. They lied us into the Patriot Act. They lied us into the 2008 economic crisis. They lied us into, obviously, the war, like wars in countries that had nothing to do with the conflicts that we need to be involved in. Like Bush genuinely started America on its like downward spiral of the 21st century. Like legitimately, that was like if there was a moment where our universe like split in two and like we got cloned and like half of our like there's a version of us that lives in the hell world universe and the version of us that lives in like the normal universe. We're in the hell world, and that's where it split. It's when like the crazy shit went down where out of nowhere they were like, oh, okay, actually no, Gore loses. That was the moment when we split into the bad timeline.
War to give slave owners more say in the elections. So it's rooted in the worst elements of American history. So I'd love to get rid of the Electoral College and Citizens United, which they passed in 2020 that ruled that corporations are people, so they can give unlimited funds. I mean, our politics were already corrupted by money before that. Now you can have a handful of billionaires that can give unlimited money. It's disgraceful. And I made those, I lived in England a long time making those space movies. And I was there during an election of prime minister. You know how they do it? It's 6 weeks from start to finish.
Which one's, Mark?
The government gives each candidate the same amount of money to spend, and you're not allowed to have outside money. It is breathtaking because it's so pure. It's so pure, and they don't have the barrage of TV commercials. It's just not the same as here, but it's all issues oriented, and it's over in a month and a half. As soon as whoever gets elected on November 5th, the campaign for 2028 starts the next day. It's repulsive.
Yeah. No, absolutely. No, and thank you for sharing that. I think that's very useful information for a lot of us that we all agree with. Look, I was gonna mention something that you said, and it kind of went back to what I said earlier. The polling is all over the place. I mean, it's all over the place. And if you really look at, you mentioned something that's really important. They don't know. They're all, because they're so afraid. A lot of these pollsters are so afraid with what they did in 2016 that I believe that they're overestimating a lot of things, which, evidence of that would be what happened in the 2022 midterms, where there was supposed to be this huge red wave.
Well, polling was pretty accurate. Polling is always accurate to what the polling is. It's just the polling isn't always representative of the outcome, but it usually is. And in 2016, the polling wasn't that far off. It was actually the projections and forecasts that were super far off. Like 94% of projections showed Hillary winning. And she did, to be fair. She won the popular vote. So the reason why they would assume that was sound. The majority of voters had a strong preference for Hillary Clinton. What it couldn't account for was that enough states would flip for Trump for him to win the technical win, or to get the technical win, even with millions less votes than Hillary.
And it never ever materialized.
Well, has anybody? I've never been polled by anyone, and I'm 73.
Yeah.
In all
Yeah,
those
no,
years, no one's
neither
ever
have I.
called. Okay,
And
and
I'm
if
30.
if I get a phone call on my phone that I don't recognize, I don't pick it up.
Yeah,
ever.
no,
So,
me
I
neither.
mean,
And yeah,
I
do
mean,
you guys? Yeah,
ask your friend. Look, the media.
No,
has
me
a
neither.
yeah.
The media has a vested interest in making it a horse race, because then we're addicted to whatever, whether it's CNN or MSNBC or Fox propaganda station. They want a tight race because that gets eyeballs. So I don't pay attention to the polls. I think it's all nonsense.
Yeah.
Don't believe them.
Yeah,
there is also like that's the point that I've been making for a while too, is that a lot of these, even the left-leaning ones that have actually noticeably and publicly taken a more right-leaning bend in recent years to try and appeal to like a wider audience, because they took such a massive hit from Biden taking office. I've shown this chart on stream before. I could bring it up again if you guys really want to see it. But if you want to yourself, just because I don't feel like doing it right now, you can look this up. Look up media companies' revenue loss after Biden inauguration, and it should be one of the first few results that comes up. I mean, there's a few articles about it, but my favorite has like a chart that shows the comparison of like what the ratings were like for all of the mainstream news channels, left and right, before when Trump was in his first months of presidency and when Biden is in his first months, and it's like in some areas like a 70% drop in viewership. Like, it's actually astronomical how much these big news corporations lost immense amounts of money when Biden took office, which is why even left-wing outlets were running every story about Biden stuttering or closing his eyes for 5 seconds long enough to take a photo of it at every opportunity, because even the left-leaning viewers needed something to be mad at their guy about. And there just wasn't much. It's why the best thing that happened for these news organizations was the Israel-Gaza thing. They finally had something legitimate to focus their left-leaning criticism of Biden on, to rise up their ratings, to make it seem like, wow, there's a thing to be mad about, a reason to watch the news and engage.
It's not going to help anybody win. What wins elections are people that go out and vote. And real data that show, I mean, and like I said, I don't know if you've dug into the early data too much, but it looks promising. I'd rather be us than them. Let's just say that at this point in the election, it does look very good. Okay, I want to open it up to. I know. I think we're gonna let you go, Mark. We appreciate you've been here for quite some time with us, and we appreciate it. Is there any last questions that you guys would like to ask Mark on the way out?
Yeah, listen, I'm not in a rush. I'll take whatever question you want. I'm going to adjust my light here. I look too bright.
No, you're great.
Oh, he's changing his light. Oh my God, look.
What'd you say, Sakura? Oh yeah,
I got a question unrelated to
he's puking.
He is.
He's throwing up.
Oh, Mr. Mark.
No, he's adjusting his lighting.
Do you know what a VTuber is?
A VTuber?
Uh-huh.
No, but I'm guessing V stands for video, so it must have to do with gaming.
Yep, it's
yeah, kind of like that.
I thought it was virtual.
He's close.
Well.
You should tell him, Psych. You know, a VTuber is this character that you see, the guy with the black hair. He's moving his head and talking a little and blinking. Okay. So it's like a.
I cannot believe we're watching the top Twitch streamers explain what a VTuber is to fucking Mark Hamill. This is the most insane fucking stream I have ever watched. Can we I am so maybe you guys aren't as tapped into the Twitch scene as I am, and you don't recognize how fucking insane this is, but these streamers all have upwards of millions of followers on Twitch, and Mark Hamill is here, and Bernie Sanders was here talking to Mark Hamill. This is fucking insane, dude. A lot of people in chat are acting like this is just some normal shit. No, this is fucking wild. Actually.
A person, and you capture their facial movements, and then you put a character on top. So instead of showing your face, you can show the little character.
Yes, like Sakuno, who looks like a cat.
Yes, like Sakuno, who looks like a cat. Exactly that.
Sakuno the cat.
Yeah, Sakuno the cat.
Thanks.
This is the pinnacle of humanity, Ashroom. You are completely right. Dude, it is 2024. Anything can happen. You're right.
All right.
Yeah.
Whew.
Well, I do have okay, so I've been, Mark, I know this isn't related to the, we'll get back on topic here, but I have to ask you this question. My friend Will Neff is a huge fan, and he's also a big time Twitch streamer. When are we going to get to hear you voice the Joker again?
Well, what happened was Kevin Conroy passed away, and he was my Batman since we started, 92, 93.
Aww.
And, there were dormant periods where we didn't. Then we came back and did the Arkham Asylum games. By the way, each one of those games made more than $1 billion. I mean, it's shocking, but I mean, I wish I had movies that all did that. We did those 3, and I just...
He's not wrong there. For those who don't know, video games are the biggest industry of entertainment in the world. Like, movies get mogged by the gaming industry in terms of revenue several times over. Like, without even a shadow of a doubt, it's not even close. Video games are the most profitable and biggest entertainment industry on the planet. And have gained that status in, like, a ridiculously short time when you think about it.
I just loved him so deeply, like a brother. I just figured, the gods are telling me something. It was my Batman, and it's time to...
Nope. No, Democratic Isaiah. The film and music industries are mogged by gaming. Like, gaming is the largest entertainment industry. I thought porn was. No, porn is the hardware defining entertainment industry. It's like, if porn is better on a certain type of hardware, then that hardware will succeed, right? Like Betamax versus Laserdisc. Or what was it? It was, I forget what the old school like contest was. VHS won. VHS was best for porn, so VHS won that. The internet let people watch porn. The internet is now in every house on the planet. There is absolutely zero coincidence here.
To step down. So, I mean, to be honest with you, nobody's asked me to do it since, but maybe it's because when I tweeted about Kevin's passing, I just said that, without, as Joker once said, without Batman, crime has no punchline.
Oh, that's awesome.
Oh, yes! We got an impression! Yes! Yes! God. Oh, I've been edging for an hour. Oh.
That was good.
That's awesome. That is so cool.
That was awesome.
That was awesome.
Like maybe that's a good time to leave.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for your time.
Thanks.
So nice to meet you, Mark.
Mark,
Take
thank
care.
you so much for your time. And
Thanks, everyone.
we appreciate it.
Bye.
Thank you. Have a great evening.
My pleasure. Now get out there and vote like Bernie said.
That's right.
You need to skibbity vote at the polls. You need to walk to a polling station and vote on that thing. Please. Young people, I am trying to speak your language. Skibbity Toilet Riz, Kai Sinat, Hellcat V8, Galaxy Gas, Five Nights at Freddy's, Amazing Digital Circus, Talk to a Podcast, Fortnite, VTuber, Twitch, Streamer, Bathwater. Thank you. Hopefully the young people now understand that I am on their level. I understand their words, their lingo, and they understand that I get them and I realize what their objectives are. They need to vote. I can't. I'm sorry. Bernie Sanders' brain rot goes hard, though. You have to admit. The idea of Bernie just saying as many, Gen Alpha slang words as he can possibly think of to try to appeal to the young people. Make that a short, Zan? You make it a short. You edit that into a short. How about that? And then you upload it on your own channel. You're allowed to monetize that. I'm not going to copyright strike you guys for uploading clips of me. Why don't you make it into a short? You could monetize it. You could get subs off that, Prancing Goldfish. Anyway, with that said, what a fucking wild stream that was. I did not expect it to get that crazy. And apparently later on, Hank Green joins. Yeah, he does. He joins for a little bit. Hank Green ends up hopping on. So that's pretty fucking crazy. Obviously, I would love to show that bit, but this segment is an hour and 43 minutes long, and Ethan's going to kill me when he sees how long this segment is. Oh, he hates having to render videos over an hour long. His PC does not play well with video games while something is rendering. Anyway, with that said, cutting things a little short, I suppose, I will wrap things up here. Please, if you enjoyed found this educational or entertaining, consider leaving a like. Every single thumbs up goes a long way to boost the channel and the algorithm and ensure that YouTube pushes my content out to more new viewers. So it really does help an immense amount. Thank you to everybody who does that. And of course, comment down below if you want to let me know what you thought of the video, and of course, compound the benefit of every like, and perhaps even subscribe and ring the bell icon and turn on all notifications so YouTube actually tells you when I go live or upload a new video. They won't if you don't. You can also follow my social medias, linked down below in the description, and join my fan Discord to be a part of the main hub of my community. I host game events, call-in streams, watch parties, and announce all my new uploads and streams there, so make sure to join that if you don't want to miss being part of my community's main hub. And of course, make sure, if you want to support me directly, if you've got the money for it and you feel like it, and you want to help me keep the lights on and a roof above my head here at the Xander Hall studio, consider donating, subscribing, or gifting a sub on my website, xanderhall.com/live, or supporting me through YouTube, Twitch, Streamlabs, StreamElements, Patreon, or buying merch at the Streamlabs link down below. With all that said, thank you for watching, and have a good one.